Welcome back, guys. In lecture 1, we discussed about the meaning of accounting, which is the art of recording, classifying, summarizing the transactions and events which have financial character, analyzing and interpreting the results thereof. In detailed discussion, we saw about entire meaning of accounting, that is started with transaction and event, and the difference between transaction and event, that is transaction is a cause and event is an effect. We saw examples as well. Then we moved to recording, where we recording in the book journal, what we recording, journal entries to the transactions and events, in which order, chronological order. Then we saw classification, that is before classification we made one more thing, that is magic of writing journal entries by using accounting equation approach. As per the dual aspect concept, every transaction having two aspects, one is debit aspect, another one is credit aspect. Which aspect should be debited, which aspect should be credited, by using accounting equation we can easily identify. That is, capital and liabilities income. If there is any increase, it should be credited. If there is any decrease, it should be debited. In the same manner, coming to right hand side, assets and expenses, if there is any increase, it should be debited. If there is any decrease, it should be credited. So by using this accounting equation, you can easily identify which aspect should be debited and which aspect should be credited. Hope you already know the meaning of asset, expense, capital, liability, and income. So that's why I'm not discussing anything in detail about the meanings of such terms. Then we saw classification. So the ultimate objective of the financial accounting is preparation of the financial statements. By using the journal entries in the book, so-called a journal, we cannot directly prepare the financials. That's why likewise nature items will be clubbed and put together in the book so-called as ledger. So the book containing classified information is known as ledger. It involves the grouping of transactions of one nature at one place so as to put information in compact and usable form. Then the real preparation of the financial statements will start in the process of summarizing. But before preparation of the financials, we'll prepare a trial balance to check the arithmetical accuracy, that is total debits is equal to total credits or not. If it doesn't equal, then where itself we can easily identify something was we made a mistake either in journal or ledger arithmetically, or maybe principal based errors may also contains. Sir, if arithmetical accuracy is there, that means there will be no error. Like that, you cannot presume. So just to check the basic errors arithmetically occurred or not, just we prepared a trial balance. In the last lecture, I already told you trial balance is nothing but with the balances appearing in the ledger, just you made a trial whether arithmetically accurate or not. So after checking the accuracy, then you may start preparation of the financial statements. Preparation of the financials is very big task that is based upon the nature of entity. You may prepare the financials. That is, if it is a sole proprietor, it is different. If it is a partnership firm, it is quite different. If it is a company, then you might follow Schedule 3. Then under also two divisions are there, Division 1 and Division 2. All such stuff we are going to discuss in all our future sessions. So that's why I don't want to focus much on such preparation of the financials. Coming to analyzing. So the real part of the accounting after preparation of the financials, the real use of the financial information will start after the process of analyzing. So analyzing is nothing but establishment of relation between the items of P&L or the balance sheet for decision making purpose. So the real decision making will happen in interpretation stage. So but the basis for interpretation will be derived in analyzing process. So the examples, I gave so many examples in the last lecture, that is ratio analysis, horizontal analysis, vertical analysis. Coming to interpretation, so end users ultimately based upon the interpretations only they may take the appropriate decisions. So it is concerned with explaining the meaning and significance of the relationship. The current ratio is equal to 2, current ratio is equal to 1. What it happens if current ratio is equal to 2? What it happens if current ratio is equal to 1? The significance of that relationship will be established through interpretation. Then ultimately end users will take appropriate decisions. Then, which is very crucial step, the next step will be the communicating. So ultimately the information should be transmitted to the users of the financial statements in the form of accounting reports, which are nothing but annual reports, ratios, graphs, diagrams, and such certain statements, etc. Yesterday we saw one of the biggest organization in India as well as world, which was RIL, Reliance Industries Limited. The annual report almost ran over the 600 to 700 pages. There are so many graphs are there, so many diagrammatic representation information is there, financial information is there, audit report exists, right? Which is nothing but a communicative information. So procedure of accounting entirely, I made a diagrammatic representation. With that a small diagram, you can easily appreciate what exactly the meaning of accounting. Next. So today we are starting with GAAP, guys. GAAP. What is GAAP? So our topic name is GAAP. GAAP. GAAP stands for generally accepted accounting principles. Generally accepted accounting principles. So just I elaborated what exactly GAAP, that is generally accepted accounting principles. But till now I didn't discuss what is the meaning of the GAAP, what is the definition of the GAAP. We can see the definition of the GAAP through my material for better understanding. Generally accepted accounting principles are basic accounting principles and guidelines, which are basic accounting principles and guidelines which provide the framework for detailed and comprehensive accounting, accounting standards and other industry specific accounting practices. I can put in this way, GAAP is nothing but what he is telling. GAAP is nothing but basic accounting principles and guidelines. Basic accounting, just a second. Basic accounting principles and guidelines plus accounting standards and other industry specific accounting practices. It's telling accounting standards and other industry specific practices. Friends, GAAP, the term itself is very much important, whether you are in accounting or whether you are dealing with auditing, whatever the case may be, whether you are dealing with any specific statute as well. Because in later sessions, whether you are going to accounting standards or whether you are going to any specific chapter, so many times I am using the word GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. So the entire accounting is based on such gap only, which is the base, which is the base structure. So that's why he used the word provide the framework. Framework is nothing but basic structure. So generally accepted accounting principles are basic accounting principles and guidelines which provide the basic structure for comprehensive accounting. So the entire accounting is based upon this gap. He's indirectly conveying that the entire accounting system was completely built on this gap. So what exactly the meaning of gap is, which includes basic accounting principles and guidelines, accounting principles and guidelines, and accounting standards and other industry specific practices. Okay. Sir, what is the meaning of accounting principles and guidelines? First, we will see the meaning of accounting principles and guidelines. Then we will see what are nothing but accounting standards. Other industry specific practices means, that is based upon the industry, the practice of accounting might also change. That is nothing but other industry specific practices. So we should only concentrate on two terms mainly: accounting principles and guidelines and accounting standards. Concentrate, guys, all of you. Sir, what is the meaning of accounting principle? Here I am not using anywhere what exactly the meaning of accounting principle, but now I am discussing accounting principle in the lecture. Please concentrate, all of you. So accounting principle is form part of accounting policy, is form part of accounting policy. Here I use one sentence: accounting principle is form part of accounting policy. Then what is the meaning of accounting policy? So what is the meaning of the general word? What is the meaning of the general, what is the general meaning of the word policy? So policy is nothing but which is a rule or customary practice in generally everybody following. But is it mandatory? The policy is designed by you, the policy is designed by us for doing the things in better manner. In generally we are so called as the policy. So might be each and every education institution will start at by 9 o'clock. That is their policy. Yes, that is for the purpose of systematic education. But is it mandatory? No, it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. Now coming to the accounting policy is an accounting principle. Now I am discussing about policy. Please all of you concentrate. Accounting policy is an accounting principle. Accounting policy is an accounting principle or method adopted to follow such accounting principle. So it's very simple. Accounting policy is an accounting principle or methods adopted to follow such accounting principle. So that's why I told earlier that accounting principle is form part of accounting policy. Accounting policy is very bigger. Accounting policy is very bigger. That is, I can put in this way, just a second. So if I can take this is an accounting policy. If I can take this is an accounting policy, I can put it as an accounting principle. I can put it as an accounting principle. Which is accounting principle. So now I will correlate with the sentence what I wrote earlier. Accounting policy is an accounting principle. Yes, accounting policy includes accounting principle or methods adopted to follow such accounting principle. To follow such accounting principle, if you adopt any methods, such methods are also treated as accounting policy. I can give a beautiful example here to understand in the better manner or to differentiate the accounting principle and accounting policy. Just I want to give one example. Please concentrate, all of you. Without awareing about any accounting standard in the foundation or in other courses, you already know that inventory, that is closing stock in generally, inventory. I'm telling the general principle. So inventory is valued at stock or net realizable value, whichever is lower. Inventory is carried in the financial statements. Inventory is carried in the financial statements at, sorry, cost. It's not stock, at cost or NRV, whichever is lower, right? Inventory in generally carried as on balance sheet date at cost or NRV, whichever is lower. Which is an accounting principle, guys? Which is an accounting principle? Sir, there it doesn't involve any method. Is it involved in methodology? No. Which is a pure accounting principle. So I already told you principle is also so called as a policy. Why? Because policy includes principle. There is no difference between principle and policy, but policy is very wider term while compared with principle, which is a pure principle as well as policy. Now to follow this accounting principle, I may adopt different methods. The methods were I may adopt FIFO method, first in first out, or I may adopt weighted average method, or I may adopt weighted average method. So just I'm telling, so the methods adopted here, you can treat it as, the methods adopted you can treat it as are also form part of the policy, but these methods are not treated as a principle. That means I can simply tell these methods are pure accounting policies. So the inventory should be recorded cost or NRV, whichever is lower, is a accounting principle. So like that, he is telling gaps involved generally accepted accounting principles. So gaps involved generally accepted accounting principle. So that principle will be authorized by every person. It should be followed by each and every entity. So then only it will be terminated as a principle. The term itself contains generally accepted accounting principle, right? It includes the basic accounting principles. So that's why such accounting principles will be accepted by everyone. Apart from that, accounting standards are also form part of GAP. So that means the entire accounting structure is not only decided by the accounting principles, but also it was built up by accounting standards. So that's why accounting standards are heart of the entire accounting. To understand the accounting in the better manner, first you should understand what exactly accounting standards tells us, which type of accounting treatment they provided clearly. For the purpose of conducting the accounting activities, you should know, then only you can easily understand the structure of accounting of any entity. So, sir, what is the meaning of accounting standards? I thought of this is not the right time to discuss about accounting standards. For the time being, I can put like this: accounting standards are nothing but some standard guidelines issued by authoritative entity. some standard guidelines issued by authoritative entity. But the real definition of accounting standards we are going to discuss in the chapter so called as accounting standards. So separate chapter is there. We are going to discuss so many number of accounting standards in the course of in the curriculum vitae as well. Okay. So yeah, let me continue further, guys. So the ultimate meaning of the gap is nothing but so the basic accounting principles and the guidelines and accounting standards and other industry specific accounting practices. One more thing just I want to discuss related to accounting standards. Just one thing, guys, just one thing. Not much, just one thing I want to discuss. Sir, coming to accounting standards, these are quite different while compared with globally and locally. So globally and locally. Sir, globally means what about international practices? Is there any standards established internationally? Yes, the international established standards were termed as IFRS. The full form was International Financial Reporting Standards. The full form was International Financial Reporting Standards. Sir, locally means in India. Locally means coming to India. In Indian perspective, there are two types of standards exist. In Indian perspective, two types of standards exist. One is accounting standards. One is accounting standards. And another one is Ind AS, Indian Accounting Standards, Ind AS. Ind AS are almost resembles to IFRS. Accounting standards are very historical standards which were developed before introduction of Ind AS. Ind AS are very recent standards which resembles the global standards so called as IFRS. So there is no much differences in between IFRS and Ind AS. Very few differences are there. Ind AS are almost nothing but IFRS. So accounting standards are very historical standards. In our CA inter syllabus, we are not dealing anything with Ind AS. In CA final, we are dealing with Ind AS. Entire 100% of Ind AS is the 100% syllabus of CA final, probably speaking. So the old standards, the existing accounting standards we are dealing in CA at a CA inter level. So which is CA inter level we will discuss. We are going to discuss in the future in CA final financial reporting paper. Okay. Hope you have a small idea about accounting standard. Still lot of discussion is there related to accounting standard. No worries. In detail things, so many other points I'm going to discuss at the time of taking the chapter accounting standards, guys. Okay. Next, come back here. Let me continue what is given in the material exactly under the gap. Gap is a combination of authoritative standards that is set by policy boards. Authoritative standards is nothing but accounting standards and the commonly accepted ways of recording and reporting accounting information, which is nothing but accounting principles and guidelines. So gap is the combination of accounting principles as well as accounting standards. At international level, such authoritative standards are known as International Financial Reporting Standards, which are nothing but IFRS at many places. And in India, we have authoritative standards named as accounting standards and Indian accounting standards. So the same thing I discussed here through my diagrammatic representation. Now you hope you get the clarity what exactly the meaning of gap. Gap is the combination of the basic accounting principles and the practices, and with the combination of authoritative standards issued in India, like accounting standards and Indian accounting standards are an international level, which are nothing but IFRS. Okay. Next, common set of accepted accounting principles. Yes, please all of you concentrate. Here I told one accounting principle, right? Like that, the basic accounting principles, some common set of accounting principles he discussed. Here he mentioned some common set of accounting principles, right? That is basic accounting principles, commonly accepted ways of recording, right? Such a commonly accepted ways of recording principles he is discussing from A to I. Some accounting principles names were given, which already there again in the foundation. Again, I want to take for the discussion to get the better clarity on what exactly on which principles we are exactly following as a form part of the gap. So business entity assumption, monetary unit assumption, going concern assumption, consistency concept, accrual concept, historical cost concept, matching concept, conservatism principle, and materiality principle. So the total here we are going to discuss, I think so total 9 concepts are there, right? 9 principles are there. So let me explain one by one concept, guys. Business entity assumption. Sir, what is the meaning of business entity assumption? So what we are discussing, some commonly accepted principles, right? We are discussing about commonly accepted accounting principles. So that the first one was, what is the first one, guys? Business entity concept. Please concentrate, all of you. What is the meaning of business entity concept? You know, so business entity concept is nothing but for the purpose of providing accounting treatment. I'm repeating once again, for the purpose of providing accounting treatment, entity is different from owner. Entity is different, owner is different. This is only for the purpose of providing accounting treatment. Just a second. So right, guys, concentrate here. For the purpose of providing accounting treatment, entity is quite different from owner. I can give a beautiful example here. For example, a sole proprietor started one business, or itself a chartered accountant. Let me take a chartered accountant. After qualifying your examination, you itself started your own practice as a sole proprietor. Then initially to conduct your business activity, so practice is nothing but business. To conduct your business activity, you may introduce some capital, right? So let us assume you introduced the capital of 1 lakh into the business. Owner introduced the capital of 1 lakh into the business. Now, it should be recorded into the books of accounts or not, sir? Whether it should be recorded into books of accounts or not. As per the business entity concept, owner is different from the entity. Whether any amount procured from the owner or any amount procured from the outside entities like banks or any other loan providers, whatever the case may be, there is no difference for me. The only difference was, if it was procured from the owner, I can term it as a capital. If it was procured from the other entities like banks and the other loan providers, which were treated as a loans. So that's why such type of transaction should also be recorded into books of accounts. In my book, that introduction of capital will also going to record, which was also termed as nothing but capital. What is the journal entry? Can you please all of you participate?
by applying the accounting equation approach? The two aspects are nothing but capital and cash. Capital and cash. Increase in capital should be created. Increase in cash should be debited. Entry, we will record in the books of entity cash account debtor to capital account. So that means what exactly business entity concept tells to us, you should differentiate the transactions in between entity and owner. Owner personal transactions should not be clubbed into the books of entity. Business transactions related to the entity should not be clubbed into the owner personal transactions. Did you got it, guys? Do you got it? So what I am telling, owner have so many his personal transaction. He expended certain expenditure for his daughter marriage. Whether it is form part of the business transaction? No, that is owner personal transaction. Owner personal transaction will not be put into the business books. So that's why there is a clear-cut clarity in between owner books and entity books. If there is any transaction occurred in between the owner and entity, such type of transaction are going to record in the entity books. That is introduction of the capital or a withdrawal of cash from the entity, which is nothing but drawings. That is drawings of cash or drawings of goods. Then such type of transaction should be recorded in the books of business. That is nothing but business entity concept. Next, monetary unit concept. What is the monetary unit assumption of the monetary unit concept? Let us see what he is telling. Monetary unit, or I can put it as money measurement concept. Both are same. There is no difference. Money measurement concept. Monetary unit or money measurement concept, both are same, guys. Money measurement or monetary unit concept is nothing but, sir, those items which can be expressed in financial terms, only you can record into the books of accounts. For those items which can be expressed in monetary terms, for those items you can be expressed in monetary terms, only you can record in books of accounts. Sir, we can't understand properly. Can you give an example? Yes. Here again, I'll give one wonderful example for a better understanding of the money measurement concept. You know, for any organization, employees are the key asset. Will you agree? For any organization, employees are the key assets of the organization. Key assets. Even though it is a key asset of the organization, we never record employee in the balance sheet as an asset. Sir, we are paying salaries to the employees. Such salaries we are charging to the profit and loss account. That is okay. That is different story. I'm talking about, is it employee is an asset or not? In generally, employee is an asset. Yes, obviously. Employees are nothing but assets of the organizations. Which are the primary assets? Which are the key assets of the organization actually? But even though those are the key assets of the organization, we never recorded in balance sheet. We never recorded. Why? We cannot express the employees, the human being skills in terms of the money. Sir, managing director, how much money you can put for the managing director as an asset? It is not a good or it is not a fixed asset, guys. He's a human being. Human being skills are vary from time to time. His mindset also will vary from time to time. There is no rule and regulation or the no theory to put a price on the human being till now, even though that much of technology was developed in the worldwide. So nobody is that much of brave to put any method to scale the real human being value. So we cannot express the human being value exactly in monetary terms. So that's why, as per the money measurement concept, employees are not treated as assets. So that's why we are, even though those are the assets, those are not expressed in terms of the monetary. That's why we are not recorded under balance sheet as an asset. Hope you got it. That means any item, whether you can take any item, not only the employee, if you are can able to express in terms of the money, then only you can put it into the books of accounts. Otherwise, simply ignore. That is money measurement concept. Sir, what these generally, or what these common set of accepted accounting principle tells to us, which type of treatment you have to follow in your mindset, which type of assumptions you should carry while drawing the financials or while providing the accounting treatment. So the level of mindset, it is clearly tells to us what are the common set of assumptions you have to put in your mind while drafting the accounting. It is clearly tells to us. So let us move on with the next concept, which is going concern assumption, which is a beautiful assumption. A number of times it will come in accounting as well as auditing. It have high impact in the accounting books. So please, all of you, give your concentration for going concern assumption. Consider it, guys. Going concern assumption. Again, we will discuss the same assumption in other chapters as well. Going concern assumption. Sir, before telling the going concern assumption, I will tell you one more assumption, which is nothing but I will tell you one more concept here. I didn't wrote in the material, but just I am telling, which is nothing but periodicity concept. So first, let me explain what is the meaning of periodicity concept. Then I will come back to the going concern assumption. Periodicity concept. Why? Because if you understand the periodicity concept, then you can easily understand going concern assumption. Sir, what is the meaning of periodicity concept? Periodicity means, sir, to draft the financials, you should require a certain time period. Sir, for how much time period I can prepare the profit and loss? For how much time period you want to know profit or loss? In generally, we are knowing profit or loss for each and every financial year. It is the general practice, each and every financial year. So financial year is nothing but it will start with 1st April and ends with 31st March. So which contains 12 months. So as per the periodicity concept, the entire lifespan of the organization is divided into 12 months, 12 months, 12 months, like that, right? The entire lifespan of the organization was divided into 12 months span. That itself clearly shows us we should measure incomes for 12 months. We should measure expenses for 12 months. At the end of the 12th month, that is as on 31st March, we have to know the financial position of the entity. So as per the periodicity concept, the lifespan of the organization was, we calculated the status, the lifespan of the entity, we calculated the status as on 31st March, or the performance of the entity we are knowing for the 12 months. So periodicity is nothing but simply we are divided into different periods. Am I right? So that itself, the financials which are prepared for a particular time period, which is nothing but a financial year, which is nothing but periodicity concept. You should not prepare the financials for a longer time, not more than for 12 months, unless otherwise some exceptional cases are there as per the acts. So in the remaining all other cases, you should only prepare your financials for 12 months, that is for financial year. Now coming back to the going concern assumption. So, sir, as on 31st March, while at the time of preparation of the financial, can I assume that my entity is going to continue the business activities? My entity is going to continue the business activities, or is going to close in the near future? You're going to close in the near future. Which assumption you are following while drafting financials as on 31st March is told by the going concern assumption. Again, I am repeating, please all of you concentrate. Going concern assumption is nothing but as on 31st March, whether your organization is going to continue your business activities in the near future or going to close in the near future. For example, I'm not having an intention to close my organization in the near future, then generally I assumed that unless otherwise some special issues or earthquake floods, I don't know right now, right? Generally I assumed that my business activities are going to continue in the future. With that assumption, if I prepared financials, then going concern assumption is appropriate. No, I am not continuing my business activities. I'm going to close my business activities in the near future. Then going concern assumption is inappropriate. Going concern assumption is inappropriate means I'm not preparing my financials on the assumption that my entity is going to continue in the near future. Then I will prepare my financials in different manner. Sir, if you are going to continue in the business organization, then you are going to prepare financials in one style. If you are going to close your business entity in the near future, then you are going to prepare your financials in different style. Yes, exactly. Sir, different style means if you are going to close your business organization, then you will prepare your financials that is based on realizable values. Realizable values. That is, realizable values means, sir, in my books, one building is there. At the time of purchase that building, I assign a different value, which is nothing but historical cost value. But right now, if you are selling that building, how much value you can get it, you should assign that value, which is nothing but realizable value. But if you are going to continue, which value you are assigned, which is nothing but historical cost value. Historical cost value, which is another concept. Actually, historical cost is another concept. We'll see right now. So what I want to try to establish here, going concern assumption in generally followed by every entity while drafting the financials. If you have a thought of continuing the business organization, but if you want to close your organization in the near future, then the method of accounting you are adopted is quite different. That is, you should adopt the assets and liabilities at the realizable values or settled values. You should not record it with historical cost values. So many points here I'm going to discuss in the appropriate chapter. So just I give a brief intro for going concern assumption. Sir, if nothing was happened in generally, organization felt that we are going to continue. That's why by adopting the going concern assumption only, we will prepare the financials in generally. Okay, sir, if the going concern assumption not followed, what are the consequences? All such things we are discussing in the respective standard or the chapter. Okay, so this is also one of the fundamental accounting assumption. While drafting the books of accounts, you should put that assumption in your book, in your mind. Okay, coming to the consistency concept. Sir, what is the meaning of consistency? Please consider it, all of you. This is very easy. We can easily appreciate consistency. So consistency concept. So, even though accounting is a, so many members just are telling that, sir, which is a playing with numbers. No, it's not true, guys. Accounting is not playing with numbers. So playing with numbers, having so many rules and regulations, first you should able to understand the proper rules and regulations, then only you can play with the numbers. It is not a simple calculations. It is not a simple division, multiplication, adding and subtraction. So many backbone interactions will be there with the accounting. So many statutes you have to learn to understand the proper accounting. So many gaps you have to learn to understand the proper accounting. Okay, so in gaps only, the common set of principles we are learning right now, even though if it is a little bit time taking, just I want to put my best level of efforts to understand the basic principles. So it is so important why I'm taking that much of time. You can easily understand all the basics which you right now you are learning, are making a platform to learning all the advanced things. Okay, so come back to the consistency concept. Simply, consistency concept is nothing but the accounting policy adopted in your organization should be followed consistently from time to time. That means accounting policy. What is the meaning of accounting policy? I already discussed it here. Accounting policy I already discussed it here. Accounting principle are methods adopted to follow such accounting principle. Sir, for valuing inventory in the current year, if you adopted the FIFO method, as per the periodicity concept, if in the current year, if you adopted the FIFO method, then in the next year also you have to adopt the FIFO method. Consistency concept is nothing but same method or principle. Same method or principle followed consistently. Followed consistently from time to time. From time to time. Time to time means period to period. One period to another period. So which is nothing but consistency concept. So again, the basic principle is telling to you while drafting the accounting treatment, you should be a little bit cautious that, sir, in the previous period, which policy was adopted, the same policy you have to adopt in the accounting, you have to adopt in the current accounting period as well. So these all are giving the basic structure, how you should follow the accounting practice. So that's why which are known as gaps. Now next, accrual concept, very, very important concept. So want to spend much time on this concept, please all of you concentrate. And moreover, accrual concept I in detail explained in the material as well. Please concentrate, guys. Accrual concept. So the concept name is accrual concept. If you understand exactly accrual concept, half of the accounting you can easily appreciate without having any confusion, guys. So please concentrate. Just a moment. So coming to accrual concept, the word accrual means, happened. So happened, or you can put it as actually incurred. Happened or actually incurred, both are having same meaning, sir. Actually incurred. Concentrate here, guys. Accrual. If a transaction is said to be accrued, if it is really happened, or if it is actually occurred, incurred or occurred, whatever the case may be, I can put the best word was occurred. Actually happened. So actually occurred, both are same. Now coming to the main theme, sir, why you are telling accrual concept is that much of important, and what is the linkage in between accounting and the accrual concept? Can you please establish the relationship? Yeah, yes, this is the time to establish the relationship. Concentrate. Sir, as per the accrual concept, if an item of expenditure or if an item of income, that is revenue, should be recorded into books of accounts, if it was actually occurred, I can give an example for better understanding the sentence just now, what I told here. So whether an expenditure or income, it should be recorded into the books of accounts when it is actually occurred, right? Concentrate. Sir, I can put in this way. Sir, I took insurance on my stock. I took insurance on my stock as on the date, let us assume 1st October, or I will put 1st November 2021, right? I took insurance on my stock. Insurance on stock is nothing but general insurance. General insurance is taken for 12 months. General insurance in generally will take for 12 months, guys. So for 12 months insurance from 1/11/2021 to it will expire as on 31st October 2022. Sir, how much amount, sir? Sir, the insurance amount was 12,000. The insurance amount was 12,000. Now, please concentrate. As per the accrual concept, what are your insurance expenditure for the current year? Current year means current year is nothing but 2021 to 2022. It will start with 1st April 21 to 31st March 2022. I can put here 1st April 2021 to 31st March 2022, which is my current accounting period. Am I right? So for the current accounting period, insurance expenses, how much? That is my question. By applying accrual concept. Accrual concept is nothing but actually occurred. Sir, out of 1/4/2021 to 31st March 2022, actually occurred insurance expenses, how much? That is from 1/11/2021 to 31st March 2022 is only actually occurred expenses. That is only for 3 plus 2 5 months. So current year insurance expenditure was 5 months, which was 5 into 1000, which is equal to 5,000. Sir, what about remaining 7,000? Remaining 7,000 are not related to current year. Remaining 7,000 is related to the year 22-23. So that's why for the year 21-22, the remaining 7,000 is treated as prepaid expenses. Prepaid expenses. Here prepaid expenditure is 7,000. So current year expenditure, how much you recognized based on the accrual concept. Prepaid expenditure, how much, which is nothing but 7,000, you also recognized based on the accrual concept. So that's why the beauty of the accrual concept is nothing but when really a transaction occurred, when really a transaction was happened, at that point of time only, we are going to record in the books of accounts. Okay, hope you understand the importance of the accrual concept. Still not yet over, guys. Accrual concept was not yet over. Just he told here only the prepaid expenditure. So based on the accrual concept, we are learning some other issues. Please concentrate here. I'm discussing through my material. So the principle requires all revenue and expenditure. Revenue means income to be recorded in the period it is actually incurred or actually occurred, and not when cash or cash equivalent has been received or paid. In this example, when you paid cash of entire 12,000 sarante in the year 21-22 only, but even though in the year 21-22 you paid the entire cash, you are not recognizing the entire cash amount as an expenditure. So that's why cash or cash equivalent has been received or paid is not relevant for me. The period for which it is actually related is only relevant for me to deciding how much amount of expenditure or revenue to be recognized in the statement of profit and loss account. So based on the accrual concept, here I'm going to discuss 4 small concepts, guys. That is outstanding expense. What is the meaning of outstanding expense? Just now we saw prepaid expense. Just now we saw income receivable, income received in advance. So total outstanding expense, prepaid expense, income receivable, income received in advance. So many times it will appear for all the problematic issues as an adjustments in different chapters. So which are the basic issues? If you can easily understand these basic issues, then at the time of drafting the solutions to the problems in the respective chapter, you can easily give your solutions, guys. Now, first let me discuss about outstanding expense. What is the meaning of outstanding expense? One second. Right, guys. So outstanding expense. First, let us discuss outstanding expense. Now, concentrate, guys. I'll take the example of salary, which is best suitable for outstanding expense. Sir, salary. In my organization, the policy of payment of salaries for every month is 10th of the next month. 10th of the next month. That is 10th of the following month. That is, for example, if I'm going to pay the March month salary, let us assume March 2022. Not at over, just I'm telling March 2022, as on which date I'm going to pay, that is in the month of April. April 10th is the due date. April 10th is the my due date. April 10th, 2022 is my due date. Now I'm asking one question, that is for the year 21-22. For the year 21-22, can I consider March month salary is also as an expenditure or not? Once again, I'm repeating, for the year 21-22, can I consider March month salary is also an expenditure or not? Obviously, March month salary is form part of the financial year 21-22. When a transaction occurred in that particular year, it should be considered into the books of accounts. Am I right? But can you please tell me, as on March 31st, salary was occurred or not? Yes, everyday employee already came to the organization. They provided services. So that's why transaction was occurred. That's why as on March 31st, salary was accrued. Salary was accrued. Accrued means occurred. Salary was accrued. But when it is really due, it was really due as on April 10th, 2022. Am I right? So irrespective of the due date, I have to check only whether it is accrued or not. As on March 31st, it was accrued. That's why I will consider March month salary also as an expenditure for the year 21-22. It was termed as outstanding expense, outstanding salary. Outstanding means, yes, it was expenditure to be payable, not yet paid. When it is payable, as on April 10th. Such a type of salary is treated as outstanding salary. Did you got it first? What exactly the meaning of outstanding expense? Now, sir, what is the journal entry for outstanding expense? Please consider it, guys, all of you. What is the journal entry for outstanding expense? Sir, which was not paid till now, right? But which is an expenditure? Which is an expenditure first? What is the expenditure? The expenditure was, here the two aspects first I am telling. The expenditure was salary, which is one aspect. The other aspect was outstanding expense, which is liability, which creates a liability you have to pay, which is liable by your organization. That's why outstanding expenditure is a liability, guys, which is very, very important. Expenditure, salary is an expenditure. Outstanding expenditure is a liability. Now, please, all of you apply the accounting equation. Which aspect should be debited? Which aspect should be credited? Due to this, salary was increased, expenditure was increased. If there is an increase in expenditure, it should be debited. That's why salary account should be debited. Salary account debtor to liability, increase in the liability, it should be created. That's why outstanding expenditure, which is nothing but outstanding salary account should be created. So the entry was expenditure account debtor to outstanding expense. Come back here to the material. In case of outstanding expense, the entry is expense account debtor to outstanding expense account. That is the beauty of the accounting equation approach. So that's why I clearly intimated in the last lecture itself. Please, all of you habituated to pass a journal entry by applying the accounting equation, which is the magic of accounting equation approach. We can easily establish the journal entries without knowing anything. Simply, if you can able to identify whether it is asset, liability, income, expense, or the capital. Next, hope you understand the exact meaning of outstanding expense. Coming to prepaid expense. Just now I already explained what is the meaning of prepaid expense, but here I am not writing the journal entry for prepaid expense, right? Please consider it, guys, all of you. I will write the journal entry for prepaid expense here itself. I don't want to establish once again one more side heading. So prepaid expenses, in the earlier example, as on 1st November 2021, we paid 12,000 for the entire 12 months as an insurance expense, right? As an insurance payment. First, as on 1/11/2021, which entry we will pass? As on 1/11/2021, first we will pass this entry. Insurance expense, account debtor to bank. Consider guys, all of insurance account debtor to bank account 12,000. First we will pass this entry. Then as on 31st March 2022, after passing 5 months, I know that the excess of 7 months not related to current year, the excess of 7 months related to the next year. So that's why out of this insurance expenses, 7 months not related to the current year, I will treat it as a prepaid insurance expense. So that's why it should be decreased. The expenditure should be decreased. Prepaid expense should be increased. Prepaid expense is an asset. Prepaid expense is an asset.